Hello everyone, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are watching this Banter Blitz show from. Have a great weekend. This is Saturday. I normally stream on weekdays, but I think it will change for this year. So welcome to my weekend. I'm spending it with you guys. What a better way to spend the weekend, of course. I love streaming, so for me this is pleasure. Now today there have been so many things happening in the chess world. So first of all, hands up if you have been following Tata Steel chess or Gibraltar or both. Well, I think in the chat, hands up would be like me. I'm checking the chat on Chess24. Who is following Tata Steel chess and Gibraltar? Thank you for confirming that today I don't have technical issues. That's good news. Who is following the events? Tata Steel chess, Gibraltar. I'm waiting for your answers. All right, and good to see that Alistair is following Chessman 1963. The Drunken Lawyer also. Alistair is following both. That's cool. Corange is here. Hi everyone. Hi Jacko. Awesome. So everybody's following those events. So guess what? Tomorrow Tata Steel chess is over. So I thought that I would just say a few words about it because tomorrow I will be watching it live, streaming it live on my channel. But before that, I just want you to know that obviously for me, that the first place is between Magnus Carlsen and Anish Giri. For the moment, that's great, I think. But if I had to pick one of them, who do you think I would pick? Who do you think I would pick? I mean, I love the world champion. I'm a fan of Magnus. But I think Anish deserves to win a super tournament. He's been working so hard for so many years. And then last year he fell out of the top 10, which I think was unjust for the strength that he has. He's a very strong player, but everybody considered him too solid. People started calling him Mr. Draw and so on and so on. I think this is his year and I think this is his tournament. So I really want to see Mr. Tactics winning the tournament. Let me know in the chat if you agree with me. I'll be watching tomorrow, rooting for Anish to win the tournament. Do you share my views on this? Do you think that this is Anish's tournament? You want Magnus to win? Do you want Shakhriyar Mamedov to win the event? Of course, he's been playing brilliantly as well. Today I was disappointed by his draw. Just a quick draw against Gawain Jones instead of trying to win with the black pieces. That was somewhat surprising to me, but let me know what you guys think. Who do you think will win the tournament? Who are you rooting for? And without further ado, I shall go and play a couple of games against you guys. But today is a chatty session. So today I've got the right to talk to you more and more post-mortems, more instructions, more teaching. I hope that you will like it. One more thing before I start with the games. Thanks to everyone who came to Vaikanze and said hi to me. It was just so nice to meet you guys. Those of you who came to me and said hi, I'm watching your show, nice to meet you. That was really nice to me as well. So thank you. Thank you, Jacko and everyone else who came to see me and Sopiko in person. I really, really appreciate it. And next time you have a chance to meet us in person, please do. Please come by. We don't bite. We really appreciate when you say hi in person and you let us know that you are following the shows. So thanks to everyone who came to Vaikanze and who said hi, whether you had a chance to say hi in person or you just saw me from far. Sometimes it happens, especially when there are loads of people, but I appreciate that you were there and you came to visit the tournament and you might have said hi to me or might not. Who knows? So let's see who will be my first challenger today, and I will keep an eye on the chat because today it's a chatty session, remember that. If you are not familiar with the platform, we are on chess24.com. This is how it looks right now. And this is horrible, so let's stop this. chess24.com. And then if you want to watch the show, you just click on the video that you see on the homepage. This is me when I used to have long hair. So you click here, and then you click on the name, my name, Anna Rudolf, and you challenge me for a 5-minute blitz game. Premium members always get priority, so if you're a premium on Chess24, we all appreciate that you are supporting the site and therefore you get priority in terms of the challenges. So now I shall head to the play zone. This is my game against Claudia. This is how I test the chessboard. I always play against an other female player, the computer of Chess24. And I've got 32 challenges. Let's see who will be my first pick. I try to find someone who I haven't played yet. I think we haven't played yet, Moby. I hope that's correct. I play with the white pieces. That's cool. That's cool because last time I played many games with the black pieces. E4 I play usually. But if John, you are watching, then we will learn the London system, don't worry. We will learn d4, bishop f4. We should. And then I will be switching myself. So if I learn the London system with John, then I will play it myself as white. You should always do what you preach. So if I'm gonna learn the London system, if I'm gonna teach it, I will play it myself. This is the Alekhine, Aljochin, Alekhine, so many pronunciations, defense, where you see that you must be familiar with this opening, but in general, this is about black giving up space and central control for aiming to compensate for it a couple of moves later. So black's strategy is that in these positions, whether e takes or c takes, he will try to attack my center. Now, there are a couple of setups against this. With the knight on b6, of course, the c4 pawn is also sometimes in the air. That is another issue that white has to solve. But in general, I like playing against the Alekhine because it's very comfortable. Now, the best setup, I always thought, is when you defend very well c4, later on with b3, you play bishop e2 or bishop d3 and you castle kingside. So let's go for bishop e2 first. And I'm going to castle. I think black will castle as well. And now this is the moment when you should start watching out for what is black trying to do here. Developing your pieces is always a good idea. Later on, black will want to push d5, and in that moment you shall see whether you can advance your pawn to c5, and that would be ideal. So you normally want to meet d5 with c5, and therefore it's useful to have your pawn on b3. So if I can make one or two more moves, I will probably want to develop my bishop and place my pawn on b3. I see that this challenge... Why is this challenge box here? Apologies, but I cannot make it. Now it disappeared. Nice to meet you, Mobby, by the way, from Belgium. Oh, I see I played against you, but I don't know if it was a Banter Blitz or not. So after knight c6, I think black's next move would be d5. And therefore, in this moment already, I shall be thinking whether to play b3 and prepare for d5. And another move that he might have on mind is e5. Actually, if I play b3, e5, d5, e4, there would be this very weak long diagonal if I play b3, e5. Yes, maybe I don't have time to play this immediately. So let's go and start annoying my opponent with a move like bishop g5. Actually, bishop g5, bishop g4. He will put a lot of pressure on my d4 pawn. I could play at some point d5 as well. Now, what I'm thinking is that if bishop g5, he is going to go bishop g4, threaten to take on f3 and the pawn on d4. If I go bishop e3, he will play d5, and after c5, knight c4. These are my thoughts. Actually, I will play bishop e3, although I think now black can comfortably go d5. Oh, he doesn't play d5 but e5. That's surprising. I thought that this move was good against b3, but not so much against bishop e3. I could have taken or c5. And now f5 will be the next move for black. I should definitely speed up. That's what I can see, that I'm very slow. I'm very slow in this game. I'm just warming up. I play knight d2 because I want to meet f5 with f4. I need to stop those pawns. So apart from the fact that I'm super slow today, I think I'm doing well. It's important that you can meet f5 with f4. If you allow black to advance his kingside pawns, you would be in trouble. Knight f5 I think is a good move. He wants to take my bishop simply. So that's very logical. That's very logical. Anyway, I will bring bring my rook here. Later I want to play b4. But I didn't want my rook to be on this diagonal with the bishop on g7, potentially threatening my knight on c3 and the rook on a1. So I play rook c1 and later I will want to push b4. He's got the pair of bishops, but this position is not about the bishops at the moment. It's pretty much closed. But yes, if I drop the pawn on e3, that would not be very funny for me. And it looks like I could drop it. The problem is that I'm not playing this game with increment. With increment, I wouldn't mind that I have this time situation. I'm messing things up. My rook is misplaced on f3. So I think I was not playing this very well. Now bishop g4, and then, oh, he's gonna pick up my rook. He's gonna pick up my rook. He's gonna take on e2 and then f3. And he's gonna pick up my rook. I'm losing an exchange at least. This is bad. Oh, he didn't see it. He didn't see it. So I'm gonna stop it. Now that I can, let's stop it. Why did he not do that? f3 was winning an exchange. Not that this position is not good for black. I totally misplayed it at some point. When I started looking at the clock, I think I started misplaying the position. But he's also not playing the best moves because all these pawn pushes are now locking up his bishop. So he would love to have the bishop on e3 and not on h6. Go away. Go away. I'm very slow. I think I'm still just trying to warm up. I'm not warmed up at all. Maybe I should play with increment when I feel like I'm very slow, but that would be not what we always do. Let's play this, although I don't have time to calculate it, and probably with my rook on f2, it's not the ideal moment to open up the position. But I don't have time, and my position is not very nice, so I want to open the position because in that case his king could be in trouble as well. You see, this is the moment when I wish I had my other rook coming to the c file, but it's on f2, so it's bad. I'm trying to bring my knight to b3. Oh, he wants to mate me. He wants to mate me, so let's get rid of the queen. Let's get rid of the queen before he mates me. Actually, this endgame is good for me because of the d pawn. That's a beautiful post pawn, which I'm gonna promote. I'm gonna promote this. I'm gonna promote this. Oh, not allowing me, and I'm gonna lose on time if I continue like this. What did I want to do? I didn't know where I was going to move. Bad. I don't know what I'm doing. I should have brought my knights in some way, but I didn't see a way to do that. So I'm just dropping now the pawn. This is bad. I'm gonna lose on time. I'm also losing my knight after bishop b6. And he's promoting. So this was completely misplayed by me. I wanted to resign, not lose on time. I was clicking on the resign button. Matter of fact. This was a bad game. So it started out very well. Moby, thank you for the game and congratulations. This was super bad for me. So in the opening, I was comfortable. This was all okay. This is still okay. And even giving up the bishop is okay. But I didn't realize that after knight takes e3, f takes e3, bishop h6 will be problematic for me. So I don't know if in this position I could have prepared against it. But even like this shouldn't be that bad. So I think this is where it started going wrong for me. Knight f1 was taking squares away from my rook. The problem is this e3 pawn. It's weak and I have to be protecting it. This position is unpleasant. e4, f4 could be potential advances for black, so knight f1, f4. Yeah, and here I'm just losing material. So this was the moment where I thought after knight takes c2, simply f3 would have picked up the c1 rook, winning an exchange. He did not play it, and that gave me, once again, chance. So here, I think if I had more time, I would have played better, but it's not an excuse, of course, not to have time. It's a blitz game. Now, all this all this shouldn't be that bad. Actually, this endgame. Okay, this endgame. This endgame looks good for white because of the D post pawn. The problem is that black's king is pretty close, so I didn't have time to promote my pawn. Is there a smarter way to do this? Rook d2 looks like the best move. You need a Tarrasch rook. The Tarrasch rook is when the rook is supporting the pass pawn from behind. So you don't want your rook to be in front of the pawn. You want the rook to be behind it so that you can be advancing your pawn. This is very logical. I thought after f3 taking is logical. d6 is logical. After bishop f6, I think in this position, white would be winning if white could take advantage of some kind of a knight maneuver. So probably this position with a knight somewhere else, let's say g3, on the other side of the board, so I could maneuver to either f5 or h5. I think probably f5 and toward e7. But the problem with the knight on b3 is that I don't really have a useful maneuver. Like, I could try knight a5. But would that help? Knight a5, bishop d8, knight b7, bishop b6 check. I can even get mated here, king f1, rook c1, back rank mate. So no, I couldn't. There was no time for such things. So I played d7 after bishop d8, king f2. But here black is just blocking everything, and probably he could have just given this check and see where I go. If king g3, well, f2, king g2 still holds. No, f2, king g2, rook g3. Look at that. So many tactical possibilities because of the passed pawn. A passed pawn this much advanced isn't like an extra piece, this f2 pawn and the d7 pawn, but in this case black is winning. So probably I was optimistic about this endgame because of the d5 pawn, but in fact my b3 knight is not helping. So this endgame would only be winning for white if my knight was somewhat stronger. Knight a5, knight c6, if it's on the queen side, or on the king side I would love to have this knight on f5. With a knight on b3, this is probably lost. Since black can block my pawn, and then bishop b6 check, for instance. Or king f7 too, like, he can play that first, of course. King g3 I played, but here... Okay, not bishop b6 here, but king e6. I guess at this point I should have just realized that I'm gonna lose the d7 pawn and I need to try to get the f3 pawn for the d7 pawn. So rook f2 I should have played and give up the d7 pawn for the f3 pawn. But even in this position, like, so even here black can play on, and I didn't have time to hold this position. The knight is bad on a b3. That's a problem. What did you guys think about the game? I think it was pretty bad, but I let you guys tell me. And when the pawn is on d5, you can play knight a5, knight c6, knight e7, knight e5, isn't it? And it's impossible to lose. T4, P5 is saying. Yes, I think the problem is the knight, but I'm not sure that I have time for this knight maneuver. So yes, I wish I had time. Knight b3. I think I should play rook d2. If not, I allow rook d3. And here, as I said, well, if I go knight a5 immediately, this is what you mean, I guess. But just because I placed the knight on c6, it's not gonna solve my situation. And also black has counterplay. Let's not forget about the f2 pawn, the f3 pawn, soon f2 pawn, bishop h6, bishop e3, f2. So black is winning in all these variations because my knight is not helping, the bishop is helping. That's my conclusion. Thank you, Wind Wanderer. I know what happened. You focused on the show and the game. If you had full concentration, you would have done better. Well, this is what it takes to play Banter Blitz. So of course, you cannot just, well, if you were me, I guess you would understand as well that if I was just here looking at the board and not saying a thing, that wouldn't be called Banter Blitz. So since it is Banter Blitz, we all accept, all the streamers, we accept that we are not playing with full concentration. But still, it was a pretty bad game to my standards. Jet lag. Well, I came back from Vaikanze a couple of days ago, so probably it's not jet lag. Oh, hi, K. Shankar. Shout out to everyone now saying hi in the chat. And yeah, I'm reading the chat. I wish I could just read out all the comments. Let's play another game because I feel bad about this game. It was a bad game. And we shall play another one. Definitely. Carson Superlight is asking me if I think that the song Endgame by Taylor Swift is an alluding to chess. Well, I thought that the first time I saw the title of the song, of course, and then I listened to the song. So yeah, why not? We chess players could think that she wrote about chess. I'm not sure that that was the case. It's more about her boyfriend, I believe, but yes, why not? And since you made a comment that was interesting, I'm going to accept your challenge. So maybe this will give you motivation to the rest of you here on Chess24 to leave interesting comments, because if I read your comment and I see your challenge, I might accept it. Okay, I will play faster and better if my opponent makes moves. Spanish. No, don't blunder your bishop. I think I would check once whether there's any game after a6 where the bishop was not moved. I hope not. I hope not, but who knows? Nowadays, anything can happen. I often play with d3 instead of castle. In this case, black can choose the main line, or he can go for the open Spanish. He's going for the open Spanish. Or not. He's thinking. He's thinking. Okay, so he's not going for the open Spanish. In that case, I will go with my d3 setup because I like that setup. It used to be a sideline, and then Magnus started playing it and it became an almost main line, if not the main line, like the most popular nowadays. This is what happens when a world champion starts playing an opening. It's picked up by everybody else. I like this variation before he started playing it, if you want to know, because I think it's just how my style is. It's just a positional, strategic style of play. Not much theory, it's more about the pawn structure, knowing where you want to place your pieces. So simply here, white wants to put pressure on the b5 pawn. If black pushes b4, you will jump to d5 and create some kind of a tension. If knight takes d5, you can take back with the pawn and the e5 pawn drops. So that's one thing to look after. Now, if he does not take my knight on d5, then he will have to deal with this beast. He's taking it. So now, if he takes d5, he probably wants to play knight d4. That might be his idea. And if I take on e5, he's going to take my knight on b3, my bishop on b3, and then on d5, the pawn. So that is the reason why I'm not winning a pawn after e takes. This is the variation. I'm not going to play it. E takes d5, knight d4, knight takes e5, knight takes b3, c takes, and bishop takes d5. Still, you can consider e takes d5 because after knight d4, another variation is to take on d4. And in that position, I'm one tempo up. It's a very similar position, but I'm one tempo up. Now the other thing would be to take with the bishop on d5. And that's something to consider. But hey, let's go for this pawn structure because it's a weird pawn chain. We will both have double pawns on the d file, so it's going to be like 4 pawns on the d file after knight d4. I'm going to take this because I don't want to give up my bishop, even though it's not like a nice bishop, especially if after e takes d4, if at some point black could play d6, that would kill my bishop on b3. So in this position, what I will be aiming for is, first of all, play as active as possible, queen g4, attacking the d4 pawn, and if bishop f6, well, first of all, if bishop c5, bishop h6 is already a big problem for black, so he has to defend the d4 pawn from f6. because that protects the g7 square as well. What? d6? That's too early. You're giving me the pawn? I'm gonna take it. I think black should have played bishop f6, but in that moment I wanted to sacrifice my d-pawn with d6. So he prevented it, but this is a pawn up for me. Maybe he thinks it's okay. And I agree that because my bishop is passive, he's got definitely counterplay. But I wouldn't have sacrificed the pawn just like this. I'm gonna come back with my queen, because I don't think it's nice on d4 in this situation where bishop f6 is always in the air attacking my b2 pawn. And now he's switching with the bishop to this diagonal. It's pretty logical. He's playing in a logical way. I think I like my queen on h5. And if g6, just to annoy my queen, at least it means that he's weakening his king. Now, I'm a pawn up, but I need to solve the situation here. I don't like neither of my bishops yet. Okay, g6. He's chasing my queen, but it means that he's weakening his king further. So I like that now I have the h6 square for my bishop, because before this c1 bishop didn't really have a good square. Now bishop h6 is of course my first move to consider. Then the rook will move to e8. And I shall see if I can continue there with some active move, because the b2 pawn will be hanging. Oh, once again I'm low on time, so Anna, stop thinking so long and make moves. If I give up the b2 pawn with rook e1, he's gonna take. Probably it's interesting. I don't think this is the best way to play, but it's interesting. And I like interesting moves. So rook b1 was the other option, but that's very passive. Didn't like it. I'm giving back the pawn. And I'm hoping... Oh, he doesn't want the pawn. He's playing in a very active way. Like, he prefers having active pieces. But now he's gonna drop one piece. I'm sorry to tell you, but now two bishops hanging on the f-file. One of them will fall. So I think in the position after rook e1, he should have taken on b2. We will check that after the game, because finally I have time to analyze it and I did not lose on time. I think this was an interesting game. Thank you for the game, Carson Super Light. This was interesting, and you realize that you can play knight d4, because as I was saying, let's just put it on the board. If I take on e5, black captures on b3, takes the pawn on d5. So it's not only that black has regained the material, it's material equality, but it's the pair of bishops for black, healthier pawn structure for black. So this position is good for black. Better. It's an advantage for black. I'm pretty sure about that. After e takes d4, queen g4, I think here you should have played bishop f6, just simply protecting this pawn. I was saying that bishop c5 is bad because of bishop h6, winning an exchange. So you should go bishop f6. If I play bishop h6, nothing happens. It's protected. So in this position, my idea was to sacrifice this pawn with d6. And the reason why I wanted to give up this pawn is to activate this bishop. I prefer to have a pawn down, especially if that means such an ugly pawn chain for black. Like, look at those doubled, tripled d pawns. Very ugly. So this is super weak, all these three pawns. I will be attacking those pawns, and just in general, it's much better to give up this pawn and ruin the opponent's pawn chain than have this pawn in front of your bishop. Imagine I make another move. Imagine I play bishop f4. Then he goes d6, and now this bishop is basically dead. I cannot open this diagonal. If I play a5, bishop a4, that's some kind of a diagonal, but it's not the ideal diagonal, and the d5 pawn is always in the air. And I can't play c3 and bring it toward d1 and f3, because the c3 square is covered with 3 pieces. So this would have been very good for black. I mean, much better than this version. I prefer pushing d6 here. If black doesn't want to take it, he's got the right to. He can play c5, for instance, and later try to capture this pawn with a piece. But I don't think it's easy to capture it, and you see that the b3 bishop is very active. So here I like white's position a lot. He gave up the d4 pawn, and had some kind of a counterplay for it. In this position, bishop h6, rook e8. Now I have the opportunity to keep my pawn up by playing rook b1, but I thought that this is pretty passive. Not only immediately it's passive, but it's also passive because if, for instance, bishop f5, I cannot come to the e file. If I play rook e1, he's gonna take on e1 and take the pawn on b2. So I cannot gain control of the only open file, the e file. That's my problem here. Of course, this is a way to play. Then maybe I can just simply go for h3 and at some point g4, annoy black's bishops on the f file. So maybe this is the best way to play. Just be patient, keep the b2 pawn, expand on the king side, annoy the bishops. But I wanted something immediately because I started to see that I'm short on time. So I go rook e1, and here I think you could have just taken on b2. If I capture the rook, you take back with the queen, I cannot bring the other rook to e1 yet. And my dream scenario would be, of course, is a way to block this diagonal. Imagine I have the queen on f4, and I can push d4, threaten queen f6, and mate on g7. But it takes 2 moves to get that position, to close this diagonal for your bishop. d4, queen f6. So after queen f4, you can simply bring back the bishop. I think if you take on b2, this is an equal position. Interesting position, but it shouldn't be more than equality. Since you did not play that, and what you played instead is not only that you didn't take the pawn, but unfortunately for you, bishop f5 is, even though it looks like a nice developing move, it drops a piece. So if you want to play bishop f5, you should take first on e1, and then you can place the bishop on f5. The queen is defending the f6 bishop. If you don't do that, I will take on e8, and now I can win a piece. That was the end of the game. Thanks for the game once again, Carson Super Light. Let me see what you guys think about this game. Turfan Fragment, I see that you have also tried Banter Blitz and you didn't find it very easy to play while talking. Alex J, I don't think I should be banned from anywhere because I'm a freelancer, so if you see me streaming elsewhere, that's my right to do so. And I have my own channel now, so later on I will be streaming on my own channel. Let me see if there are any questions regarding this game or any comments, or shall we go for another game? I wonder why Chess24 engine assesses are so different, the assessment of the Chess24 engine. Well, depending on what you compare it to, and depending on the depth of the engine. So don't always believe the engine. Hi, Fuxia. Nice to see you. Oh, by the way, last week I promised that I would play with more ladies. So if I see challenges from fellow lady players, I will accept their challenge. I want to support as many girls and women as I can, because I want to see more women playing chess. Thank you, Miktal. I don't want to play against Kasparov, Carson, and Anand. The only one I want to play against is Anna. That's a very nice comment. I guess you want me to accept your challenge. Cohen, well, you say that women can do two things at the same time, men can't. Not me. I can't. And yes, it's ladies first, Donji. So let me see if I have any lady challenges. And don't create a fake account with a female name, because that doesn't count. Oh, why my challenges disappear? Let me see if there are any ladies. Fellow girls, ladies. I don't see any. Is it possible that today I don't have any challenges from fellow ladies? Unless your handle doesn't show that you are. Oh, Anna, we played last time. It was a very good game. I played with Anna the other time and she played very well. Well, if I don't see any other ladies and Anna is here, I will accept her challenge. It breaks one of my rules to try to always play against someone that I haven't seen lately. But I said that I will play against a fellow lady and I don't see any other challenges. So Anna, it's once again you. It's good to see you here. I'm glad that you are a regular viewer of my show, and I hope that I'm helping you in a way to improve your chess or just simply keep you motivated. I think the other time Anna was playing with the white pieces, so this is a rematch. And we drew. Whoa, you played an Nimzovich defense. And after d4, do you go for the main? Yes, d5. So this is a Nimzovich defense. It's possible to play it with different setups on the second move. And it's an interesting defense, actually. It's an interesting opening. After knight c3, d takes c4, white can go d5. It's a very active position. And I must admit that I barely remember theory, as usual. Knight b8 is one move, and I think there was another option as well. So here, as for now, I'm a pawn down, but I have very active pieces. And I'm not in a rush taking on e4. I prefer to develop my pieces. So all I'm doing right now is to develop and try to make for Anna as difficult as possible her development. So she can't push the e pawn, which would be the normal way of developing, unless she wants to double her pawns on e6. c6 is a good move, I think, but she should calculate whether it's working. So it's good to challenge the opponent's center. The d5 pawn was taking away so many squares from her pieces and her pawns that it's good to challenge it. She should calculate what happens after d takes c6. And since she should calculate it, let's go for that. Normally, of course, you don't want to trade queens when you're a pawn down, but here I'm going with the initiative. If knight takes, I can play in that position well. The problem is after knight takes, imagine if I had another move. Okay, she's taking on d1. I was just going to tell you that in that position I'm threatening bishop takes f7. Knight takes c6 would have defended the queen on d8, so there was no tactical motive winning the queen. She wanted to take on c6 with the pawn, that's why she took my queen first to prevent knight b5. Interesting, but it feels suspicious because you are not developing your pieces. The question is, can I punish black for not developing her pieces? If bishop c7 threatening mate on d8, she can play knight d7. So next move will be knight d7, I believe, and she wants to go e5 next move. What can I do about that? What can I do about that? Maybe not much. So then let's just go for the pawn. Knight e2, knight g3, and take on e4. Knight d7 and e5 in order to develop her pieces. I think she's doing well. e5 next move, chase my bishop away. And what we will have on the board is that she can develop her pieces, and I will hopefully take the pawn, but now bishop b4 should be the strongest, pinning the knight. She's playing very well. Anna, you're playing very well, once again. She always wants to beat me. I like that. I like that attitude. Taking on c3 is good because that means that you will not drop the pawn, but it gives me the pair of bishops and there are dark square weaknesses. So I'm now trying to play for those squares, and this knight coming in to e7 and d6. I had to look at knight b6, but I have a check on e7, so there won't be a problem with two bishops. My bishop on c4 and the knight on f5 hanging. Knight b6, knight e7 check. Then I will move my bishop and the c6 pawn is hanging. Or I can take on c8 if I want to. Will I want to take that? Not really. Let's just come here. Bishop b7 or bishop d7? Bishop d7 probably, because that will make my knight odd. It's not coming out of e7 if she plays bishop d7. But I don't think it's easy to capture it because I have bishop c5 too. Bishop a6 is very active, probably even stronger. then bishop d7. But now I will have the f5 square whenever I want to come back, and the c6 pawn is still hanging. So even though black is a pawn up, it's an annoying position. The c6 pawn has to be protected, the f7 pawn has to be protected, and white's pieces are more active. I have also, of course, weaknesses, my doubled pawns on c3, c2, but she can't really attack them. She can use the c4 square, bishop to c4, knight to c4, potential moves. Of course, you must calculate. You cannot just play bishop c4 and forget about bishop takes b6. Depends on the position, whether you can play it or not, but the c4 square in general is a nice outpost for black. Now she changed her mind, so I don't think that bishop a6, bishop b7 was actually good for her, because she lost time doing this. Shall I play rook to d6, knight c8? I'll take or knight e8. Well, let's just start annoying her pieces. I want to double rooks in the d file. In case we trade rooks, one pair of rooks with rook d8, the f7 pawn will be hanging later. I will probably not take immediately, because I might just want to play rook d1 and keep the d file. Yeah, I think knight c8 is a good move, so she's getting rid of my knight. I'll take here, and then I guess she'll take back with the rook. But that drops the a7 pawn, so actually it doesn't matter which... It did not matter which rook she chose. In both cases I was taking a pawn, and the bishop could also not take on c8. Now, once again, I have one problem, that's called time. I will block this pawn before she goes c4, blocking my bishop. I wouldn't have liked that. And then, even though this bishop looks weird on a7, it's not bad, because I can go bishop b6 and then support my a passed pawn, a4, a5, a6, a7. That's my plan. So now this is material equality, still pair of bishops for white, and it's good because I have so much control on the queen side, and that's where I have a passed pawn. These two bishops will be supporting my pawn. Oh, Anna, g6 drops this knight. No. You were playing so well, Anna. You were playing very well. I think this position was already very good for white. But before that, you were fighting very well. Oh, and you are a fighter. You will not give up. Okay, so I should win this before I lose on time. Fair enough. I like that you're a warrior. I like that. So keep playing, and you can still prove that I will lose this on time, especially if I talk a lot. Oh, she wanted to play h6. I'm sorry about that, Anna, so it was a mouse slip. It was a mouse slip. Oh, well, thank you for the game. It was a very unfortunate mouse slip. Anna told me that she was going to play h6 here, not g6. So h6, in that case, I would have followed up with bishop b6, controlling the da square, and then my plan is a4, a5, and so on. You can, of course, try to prevent it, but the c5 pawn is always in the air, the f7 pawn is always in the air. So I think this position is already winning for white. Anna, you played very well before. This position was already very tough, so I don't think it's the g6 move that lost the game. It's already this position that's bad. But before that, you played so well. First of all, you played the Nimzowitsch defense, which many people don't even know that it exists. So well done for playing an opening that's not among the most popular, and you know this opening. I was trying to play as active as possible, but here I was telling you guys. Of course, in this position, white is threatening bishop takes f7. It would win the queen. But I believe black can simply play knight takes c6. That protects the queen, so there's no bishop takes f7. The queen is protected on d8. And if I play knight b5, I think you were afraid of knight b5. But here you can go e5. Wait a second, maybe you were scared of this position if queen takes d8. So you can't take with the knight because of bishop takes e5, but king takes d8, castle, check. Yeah, probably you were right that this is dangerous as well. So maybe what you did was actually better. After d takes. I wish I remembered what was the best. Or if not c6 immediately, but g6, bishop g7 to castle. But probably there's nothing direct against c6, so maybe this is all okay for you. It looks a bit weird, but probably you are in time to play knight d7 and e5. So maybe this was all okay, Anna. And where the game went wrong, bishop b4 is also the best. And here, well, you have the option of giving me back the pawn and keeping your bishop. And that would have meant that, for instance, castle, and I'm going to take this pawn. So it will be material equality, but you have the dark squared bishop, and therefore the c5, d6 squares are not that weak as in the other position. You decided to keep the pawn, and here after knight f5, maybe even like this, knight b6, check, bishop b3. Yeah, I would have gone for bishop d7 as black, even though it looks a bit weird, but it protects the pawn and keeps the knight from the ability of jumping back to f5, so it's kind of trapped on e7. I don't think I will have lost the piece. I always have bishop c5, and I can put more pressure on your pieces with rook d6, doubling rooks on the d5, bishop g5 as well, if I want to just try to threaten your pieces. Probably bishop c5 later. Rook d6, double rooks on the d5, bishop c5. But it feels a bit weird that my knight is on e7 with the bishop on d7. So I think a way to complicate this position would have been is that you try to lock in my knight on e7. What you played, bishop a6, is good for winning a tempo, but now the pawn is still hanging, and so you had to go back to b7. That's a problem. After bishop b7, I think here I'm already doing very well. And yes, if you don't play knight c8, I'm simply putting more pressure on black, doubling rooks on the d5. Well, the c6 pawn is hanging, but even if I don't take it, I can double rooks on the d5. c6 is weak, the f7 pawn is weak, double pawns on the e5, and very active white pieces. That makes this position better for white. So yes, I think here it's already problematic after knight c8. There's just no way to take back on c8 without losing the pawn. So I'm going to win the material back. You see, a7, c6, f7, all those pawns are hanging. Therefore, there's just no way that I would not win the pawn back. Maybe it's better if you give me another pawn, but the position is still worse. So I think you fought very well, but it was a difficult position here already. I'm not sure what's the best for this position. Probably if you just give me back the pawn, that's interesting. Or what we played in the game with the knight on e7, trying to lock my knight in with the bishop on d7. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Oh, I've just switched windows. I was reading the chat of Jan. Let me see. Is that my stats, or whose stats are that? Or your stats for Banter Blitz, Torfan, Fragment? Oh, Carson Kramnik you are talking about? Well, so you're already talking about the candidates. Nice. Alex, you started reading my system. Very much recommending my system by Nemcovich. Carson Kramnik would be an interesting match. Does anyone care about the games I play, or it's just about the candidates? I don't mind. I mean, we can talk about the candidates. Then I don't have to play. But I will play one more game, because I'm here to play. And later on, we can talk about all this. Coinge, if there are any openings named after a woman, whoa, that's a good question. I don't know of any. Oh, no, well, Chiburdanidze has a variation, I think. I believe so. But now you make me doubt. That's a good question. I will need to look that up. Not in general, not like main openings, but main openings are not even named. Well, there are main openings of like the Nimzovich defense that is named after a person, but if you just think of the Sicilian, the Italian, the Spanish, they all have names that are named after a country. Although the Spanish has another name, the Ruy Lopez, and he was a Spanish priest, the strongest player at that time. So, not that I know of any main line or common variation that's named after a woman. That's a pity. That's a pity. But I think I heard of Chiburdanidze's variation. If anyone can confirm it, please let me know in the chat, because you guys know a lot more and you can also Google things, not like I do. Trump says that he knows the Anna Gambit. Oh, I wish I knew what was that. Kramnik student F4G for who you fan opening. Oh, that was painful. But yes. So let me know in the chat if you know of any other one. No, the false mate is not. Sicily. Oh, Japer. I like that. Japer is saying that they call the Sicilian at his club the Sicilian Polgar, since Judith has played it so often and so efficiently. She's just such a great attacking player. She's in Vaikanze now, by the way. She's visiting the Tata Steel chess tournament. Oh, the Queen's Gambit. Well, if we think of it that way. But I was trying to figure out if I can recall any variation that's named after a woman player. So, bearing the surname of a woman player. Polgar variation. Not that I can recall. I think the book is basically called the Polgar variation, but not the opening. Yes, I agree. That very good game, Anna. So you fought very well. And this, it would have been, I think, a complex position after bishop d7. Let's go for a last game, and you guys can let me know in the chat if you know of any other openings that might be named after a fellow lady. Koenji is saying that he likes the idea of a Miss Strategy, Miss Tactics fan club. Well, I would love to be part of such a club. If you guys make one, Sopiko and I will be definitely more than honored. Mrs. Strategy? No, it's Mrs. Tactics if you mean Sopiko. Alright, let's go for another challenge before I need to go and have dinner. Okay, since I told you guys that today I focus on the chat, and those of you who say interesting things in the chat, nice comments, you guys get the challenge. So Koenj, since I was reading your thoughts in the chat, I'm accepting your challenge. Did I just play all my games with white today? I think so. I think so. The first one was very bad. Then the second and third were okay. And now this is the Scandinavian. So let's see how we finish today. The Scandinavian with the knight f6 variation, not queen takes d5. Koenj, do you play the Scandinavian most of the time? Or do you switch between openings? Bishop g4. Here. Well, I will go knight f3. I guess this is, of course, all possible. And after queen takes d5, he might want to take on f3. So I will just play it safe and sound. Bishop to e2. Later I might play c4 or knight c3. Just a very sound setup. Bishop g4, to be honest, on third move is not what I know. Knight takes d5 is the most common, but I'm sure that this is interesting as well. At least I'm out of the book. After the book of GM Smerdon. Oh, Koenj, you are very well prepared. So I should I should not fall into your preparation. Well, the pawn is not hanging at the moment because if bishop takes, I will take on f3, queen takes d4, bishop takes c6, wins the queen. So I'm pretty sure that he wants to castle queenside here. It is called the Portuguese system, Koenji is telling me. So, whoa, I'm playing against a very well prepared opponent. e6 makes sense as well, of course. The Portuguese system. It's good to know that it's called like that. I will play bishop e3 first, just safe, and c4 or knight c3 afterwards. I want to know if you will castle queenside or simply you want to play bishop e7 castle kingside. Thank you, Jacko. You're saying that you're a fan already, so if there's a fan club, you will join. Thank you, that's very kind of you. Jacko was there in Vaikanze, and it was really nice to see him in person. So Pico and I were there, and we had a nice chat with Jacko. He still keeps the score sheet of our game, so that's very nice of him. Okay, is this still theory? Because I feel like c4 should be a good move. Queen h5, h3. Is there some kind of a piece sacrifice in that position? You know what? I will play first h3 because I don't want you to be tricking me with some kind of queen h5 and then h3, bishop takes h3. I really wonder if this variation is still like that. Is it still according to Grandmaster Smerdon's book? He's a very nice guy, by the way, from Australia. But I will go c4 because it looks like a very logical move, and I'm curious if this is still theory. Later you should let me know, Koenji. Oh, Mikta has looked it up. No openings named after women. That's such a pity. And there's a Wikipedia entry called List of chess openings named after people. That's very nice. Yeah, please someone change that wiki page. I agree. But don't add the Hui Fan opening, because that was just a bad day for Hui Fan. And I think she regretted what she did. I think if I go g4, you will take and you will be happy with that piece sacrifice, so I won't do that. It just feels like your queen is so weird on f5. If a bishop d3, you still have a square on a5. Doesn't it feel like I could somehow catch your queen? c5, you move the bishop, then bishop d3, you still have queen to d5. You know what? I will simply develop my knight and see what you do. If you castle, I'm pretty sure that I can trap your queen by playing c5 and then bishop d3. Well, no, not true, because after c5, bishop d3, bishop takes f3 will save the queen. Okay, Koenji is saying that he can take the book later because he doesn't know this variation. So at least I also tricked you and I managed to get you out of your theoretical preparation. So I was counting on castle, c5, the bishop moves, bishop d3, but in that position it looks like I'm winning the queen, but I believe there's bishop takes f3, so we either trade queens after bishop takes f5, or no, there it's not even a trade of queens, I'm gonna lose a piece that way. I can't win the queen, this is so weird. Feels like there should be a way. Don't you guys think that there should be a way of trapping this queen on f5? Feels loose, feels not very well placed. Okay, he feels the same way, he goes queen a5. But on the long run, that shouldn't help either. I'm gonna go now a3 and threaten b4 and c5. So I think this queen is in trouble. Now b4, c5 traps the queen or wins a piece at least. Looks bad. Looks bad. Probably it was still safer on f5. He takes on f3, but I'm gonna take back with the bishop. I'm not going to weaken my pawn structure. This was a way to save the queen for now. But I don't believe that this is going to work on the long run. And if well, b for queen takes c4, bishop e2 doesn't win the piece, doesn't win the queen because the c3 knight is hanging. But if I just go back with the bishop, look at this position. I'm threatening c5, winning the queen or the bishop on d6. So this position should be lost. Now I'm just winning a piece. So he's saving the queen, but I'm winning a piece. I'm also curious if we can look up later on in your book, how was this variation? And of course, it's good that you're not resigning. Well, knight b5 is tempting. Also d5 is tempting. Just opening the position. I don't have much time, so I will just go for d5. I think knight b5 was also a good move, but after rook d8, there's nothing concrete. So now I just want to open the position. I'm a piece up. Got the pair of bishops as well, so I'm opening the position for my pieces. The king is still in the middle of the board. He's gonna castle next move, I'm pretty sure. But look at my bishops. They will rule the world. In this game, at least. Bishop f3 next move. I announced it. But I know that Koench cannot hear it immediately. Let's put more pressure on that pin. And another piece shall drop. Do you guys know this variation? Do you know the same book that Koench studies from? By David Smerdon. Oh, thank you, Full Moon Coyote. This was not a huge deal, this tactic. It's simply what you should do when the opponent's king is in the middle of the board, plus you have a piece up. So, thank you, Koench, for the game. Thanks. Well, it went wrong because of the queen. So, here, it feels like bishop e7 is safer, but maybe you are aware of a variation where the bishop is on d6. But once you place the bishop on d6, even if I don't win the queen immediately, it just feels awkward. In every position, you shall be calculating whether you are losing the queen or not, and that's not a good feeling, to be worried about the queen. So probably here after knight c3, you can castle, because I'm not winning the queen. My plan was c5, bishop to e7, bishop d3, trapping the queen, but bishop takes f3 will save the day. So I was not going to win the queen, but it's unpleasant. Even like this, it's unpleasant. But probably you should have just kept your cool and keep the queen on f5. So in case of g4 and such, you will always sacrifice a piece, and you definitely have more than enough compensation for a piece. And with bishop d3, anytime I play bishop d3, you take on f3. It's a weird position, a very weird situation for the queen on f5, but probably this was still the way to play. And if I don't find a way to exploit this queen on f5, then you're gonna go rook d8 and put pressure on the d file, try to push e5. So unless I have something concrete, this position can be okay for black. What do you guys think? The book is called the Smerdon's Scandinavian. Sorry, I was not laughing about the Smerdon Scandinavian, but another comment by Chess Kids. I have added the opening, I swear. Did you? Oh, please. Oh, please, I hope not. You guys are the best. You guys are the very best. Thank you so much for your support. Koench, I will check out the book. So it's called Smerdon's Scandinavian. If anybody wants to check this variation with bishop g4. Don G says here queen d2 to threaten bishop d3. Certainly you are right. Yeah, I know Fuxia, but still it was a nice joke. So, and please don't add it because I don't have an opening. If there's an opening that would belong to my name partially, it's the French, because I always play it, but I did not invent the French defense, nor I have a variation. So please don't add my name. Queen d2, I agree with you, Don G, that here now white is threatening c5, bishop d3, because bishop takes f3 will not be it won't be a tempo. So probably yes, still black should be getting into trouble, but you can try e5 to open some squares for the queen. I don't think that this was lost, but maybe, yeah, it's problematic anyway. Like, imagine a scenario where simply d5, and if knight e7 is not the queen but now the bishop that is trapped. Bad. It's just bad. Knight d8 looks also pretty bad, even if it doesn't drop the piece. I mean, this looks bad too. So I'm not sure where it went wrong. I think you should just check the book. I think you can just check the book and see. I played, I think, very logical moves, just developing my bishop to e2, castling, bishop e3, just looking after my pawn. So I think it feels like the bishop on d6 is not where it belongs to, with the queen on d5. I would have placed it on e7, but this is without knowing the book, so I would have placed the bishop on e7 so that I don't have trouble with my queen. Then castle, bring the rook to the d file. This looks like logical to me, but you can check in the book. I'm sure that this I'm sure that this is... No way, you really made an entry. No, please. What's my opening? I don't have an opening, guys. What do you mean that there's an Anna opening? Seriously? No, I hope that there isn't, please. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me in today's session. This was a chatty Banter Blitz. The first game was horrible. The rest were okay. And this opening coin, check how to play against this setup, because as white, I just played very simple developing moves. I didn't do anything special. Now I will have dinner and get ready for my own stream on my own channel. You guys might know that I have my own Twitch channel. It's on my social media, so if you want to still hang out with me today, I will be back in 15 minutes. See you very soon, and if you are not joining me on Twitch, then I will see you here on Chess24 next week for sure. Bye bye and have a lovely week. Well, weekend. So weird to say that. Yeah, I always say have a lovely week because I always stream weekday, but from now on it's probably gonna be weekend. So have a very nice weekend. Good night, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and I will see you very soon. Check out my social media if you want to follow me on my own streams as well. Bye bye. See you very soon.